So this is quite a panel, right? Y'all love it? So let me talk to you first, Tokimonsta. You span so many different genres. Tell us about your beginning. How did you grow up? How did that all happen for you?
I grew up also classically trained in piano, but because my mom made me, like it's not something I really wanted to do. Everyone out here knows that at some point in your life, your parents made you play something you didn't want to play. But then I started playing piano and I realized that I really had an affinity towards music. And then I basically ended up listening to a lot of West Coast hip hop because at the time when I was young, it was like, imagine me at 10 years old listening to West Side Connection. I was all about that, if you can believe it. And I knew all the words to like Gangsta's Paradise, all these things. And there's something about hip hop culture, rap, that kind of music that drew me. So I started off really making beats in like the LA Underground, in Project Blowed, in these kind of realms. And then from there, I ended up finding other like-minded individuals who not only liked hip hop, but also liked electronic music, and also liked very experimental electronic music like Aphex Twin or like Square Pusher, a lot of warp artists. And that's where I met people like Flying Lotus, that's where I met people like Daedalus and Daddy Kev and Low End Theory as a venue for the things that I was really into. And yeah, it's just like this sphere where it's like hip hop and electronic music and thinking in the future was like really okay, and that's where I came from.
I love that, man. I love that. So speaking of hip hop, so Hit Boys, you work with all these big artists. What were you using in the beginning?
I was using the same thing I'm still using to this day, FL Studio. Now I'm on the latest FL 12. I was on FL 3.5 or something like that way back in 2003. So I just kind of, I had got a keyboard around 06, a Phantom Rolling, so I was going crazy with that. And I just always add pieces. And I'm happy to be here with Native because they always give me crazy pieces to work with. And I've just added that to the repertoire, and it's just helping me with my creative process.
Yo, all right, so listen, Zedd, when you got signed to Interscope, man, what was that trajectory like for you, man? What was that like?
I mean, yeah, I've made records in my parents' basement, even remixes for Lady Gaga and Black Eyed Peas. I still made them in my parents' basement. I had to go to this corner in my room where I had a little bit of sub, and I would take the mouse and have it on my leg and try to fix issues
right.
in the mix because that's where I could hear it. Yeah, and then everything kind of happened fast. I signed to Interscope. They brought me over to LA, and suddenly I had a big studio and all these artists who wanted to work with me who I thought would never even know who I am, and things changed really quickly. And then suddenly everybody looked at what you were doing, and before I did music, showed it to my friends, and we would listen to it in the car. That was pretty much it.
But you're a big fan of Reactor, right? Right, Zedd?
Yeah, I am.
What's your workflow with that?
Well, it depends on what kind of song it is, I would say. I've made a song called Spectrum where one specific part in the middle of the song...
Yo, a hand for Spectrum. That was a dope record.
Thank you. One specific part, the way I did it in the middle, which is kind of like a complex part with a bunch of sounds, is I work in Cubase and I had 5 tracks with different types of...
There's one Cubase fan out there, one.
With different effects, one with a bit crusher and a bunch of compression, one with a pitch shifter, one with a bunch of reverb, and then I just go and bounce little snippets of different notes in the same key I'm working in, and just drop them into different tracks and see what sounds best, and then I move on to the next sound. Go through. I love presets myself. I always start with presets. I never start from scratch. I find it way easier and faster. And just go through different sounds that I think are cool, add a little bit of a pitch bend, bounce it out, and drop them into these 5 tracks and see what sounds best and try to create a little bit of a story.
Oh, that's cool. All right. What makes an interface creative to you, man?
I think, speaking on the complete control, I love that. The chord, whatever the thing is, where you can use the chord mode and just really make it sound like a movie, with the sounds that Native is able to provide, which for you it's just endless possibilities.
There's a lot of different interfaces. There's different ways of approaching. All 3 of us use different DAWs. Wait, do you still use Cubase?
I will forever use Cubase. I'm too old to change.
That's so real right now. And so it's you have Cubase, FL Studio, and I use Ableton. Though I must give it up to FL Studio because it was really tight. That's what I started on. But I mean, for me, it's all about working as quick as my mind works. So if I can make sure I get my ideas down as fast as I can think them, that's the DAW that's going to work best for me. That's the creative interface, or MIDI controller, all these things that's going to work best for me. Is that I need to make sure that I get these ideas down before I forget them.
Well, I've always been in Cubase, and I can fully agree with what you said. I don't know if I want to say I'm lazy, because I'm actually not, but but quick results are extremely important. Therefore, I would say the most important things are, for me, presets, because you can quickly switch through different sounds and get inspiration and maybe find out what you actually want to do with a song. And sometimes really like a placement of a button can be a huge difference for the song, because you have an idea in your head. It's like, okay, I'm going to cut the next 16th notes and fade them. And then in your mind's like, oh, that's going to take too long. It's not worth it. Where if it's really fast, you're going to try it out and maybe go on a different path. So really, whatever's fast is really good for creative workflow, I think.
That's very important. Do you use Machine a lot now in the studio?
I'm actually just getting into the jam. I just got set up with it last week, so I'm literally just starting with it. But I pretty much rock with anything Native comes up with, for real. Like, it's just like always the cut through on it is crazy.
Zedd, you use Tractor Live. Tell us why you use Tractor Live.
I would say, to sum it up, the reason I use Tractor is because I jump around a lot. Specifically, when you play a song and then you decide you want the last 32 bars to repeat, or sometimes I play a song that has 3 times 32 bars of a drop, and you feel like the crowd is not into it, and you can just easily skip it. You're on sync. I know there's a bunch of people who hate sync. I think it's the best thing in the world. There's absolutely no reason to hate it. So it gives me the ability to jump back and forth or loop something, and it's really intuitive and easy. And of course, I'm jealous that there's always CDJs everywhere, and I wish there was a Tractor everywhere. And but yeah, for me, it's just the most convenient tool for the way I play my music. I have all my, I don't need to run through Rekordbox and prep everything. I can also prep it on the fly. And at this point in my career, I think I can afford to have somebody set up an S4, which is what I DJ on, wherever I go. And I'm very comfortable with it, and I like using it.
Right. With the Machine and what the Machine Jam is now, you think it'll help a lot more young hip-hop producers get into like an interface?
Most definitely, because it's kind of like using an MPC. I mean, it is using an MPC.
Right.
It's just like having all the presets, and like you said, like Zedd said, just having inspiration right in front of you. Like, you could pull up a drum pattern, mute the snare, mute the kick, add something, and just make it your own, personal thing. But just having that creative, just, thing already there for you, just, makes it easier.
A lot of people like an interface that has everything on the display, every function out there. Some people like functions a little bit hidden. What's your take on that?
I think as a producer, when you go into your DAW and you can find some part of it that no one else really knows, that sets you apart, right? So if you figure out how to, do some like weird side chain compression, you have ways of using other things like Max MSP or these other technical things that are so minute that it'll actually set you apart from another producer. Those things are really valuable. The little hidden tricks. And it's also the things that you can share with other people, when people start innovating new sounds and new ways of approaching music. But it's kind of half and half, right? So I think in a way I really enjoy the hidden aspects, the stuff that you don't know about, the ways that you can like shift audio or do,
right.
Well, especially with something like Ableton, the multitude of ways that you can MIDI map things to each other. But I think to have something that's straightforward helps people that are starting to produce, because then you have an even playing ground. You understand how things work and how you can start to create music before you start to like personalize it for someone first approaching it. And then you go and you're like, I'm gonna make this my thing. I'm gonna figure it out and like.
Is it like still taking like a piece of gear out of the box at Christmas for you, Zedd?
You mean like a hardware piece?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know how to connect my speakers, so I prefer to stick with software. That's a little easier.
Right.
For me, sometimes I've been stuck with a song, and I'm just wondering if there's another synth I haven't used yet. And sometimes you open a new synth, at least for me, I go through presets, and then I hear a sound, and then I get the idea of what to do with the song. It all comes back to what you said. I think The quicker software is, the better. To your other question, I personally like plugins or synths that are super simple. I like one knob is perfect. If there's a distortion plugin that has one knob, I'm happy. I don't need two. Like less is more a lot of the times. And I don't like a plugin that does everything at once myself. I prefer to, if I know what I want to do, just have one specific type of thing instead of having a plugin that does everything at once.
Most definitely, especially like as of late, I've just been feeling like the quicker I do it, the better it's gonna be. You know, honestly, like some of my biggest songs are the beats I made just messing around. Like I made this in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like Niggas in Paris, like Flawless for Beyonce, like Feeling Myself for Beyonce and Nicki Minaj. Those songs were made fairly quick, like as far as the beat goes, so just kind of like keeping it simple as possible, you know, that's really the way, for real.
If there was one thing you wanted Native to create, what would you say?
I was lucky enough to be really close with the team here in terms of what functions I would like. So a lot of the things I wanted already kind of exist. I don't know, that's a really good question. I'm not prepared.
For instance,
I don't know the answer. What about you guys?
A Hit Boy beat machine. I think that would be dope.
Tokimonsta.
I have an idea that I stole from my boyfriend, but then he's been talking about the iOS interfaces for like machine and things like that, and I guess like general improvements on that as well, so that you have the ability to go like, you know, it's kind of cool if you could like sit on the toilet and make beats. Not saying that I do that, but maybe my boyfriend does. I don't know. But or a lot of you guys do. Don't act like you don't. But then, you know, when you're on your, like when you're doing whatever and you're sitting at the airport, or you have these ideas that you want to put on the spot, if you had an iOS tool or an Android tool, like these apps and stuff that were, you know, like maybe true to what you're using. So if you're using Machine a lot or these type of interfaces, and then you can put these ideas down and then easily integrate those ideas into your DAW to like finish your track while you're like in your computer, like sitting on a chair and not your toilet, then, you know, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, listen, why don't we open this up to the audience? Let's take some questions.
So do you guys have like specific routine throughout the day that you guys do before you guys start producing to get you into the mood to it?
I really don't. I just sit down and start.
Yeah, I just live life and let it come to me.
I just make music when I want to. Otherwise, I'm usually watching like cartoons or TV or something.
Listening to music can help, I think, to get inspired.
So quick question, Anton. So when you produce and you start off with something, do you start off with a bass line, a melody? Since you're a classically trained pianist, do you start off with the melody first and then kick in some bass lines, and then, or a drum machine, or you know, anything like that? So what's the process?
It's one of both ways. Either I start the song myself, then I usually just start with the chord progression. Yeah. And I have a bunch of folders that are just chord progressions, and then eventually I'll make them into songs. Or my favorite way of working at the moment is if I find a vocal that I really like that doesn't have a song, to take a vocal, just loop it, and then write chords around it, and then start with the MIDI, and then usually find a sound for those chords. And you know, then start producing the song. But really, for me, the core of a song is always the emotion, which I think really comes from the music rather than the sounds, to me personally. So I like to take care of chord progressions and melody before I take care of sounds myself.
Right on.
Where do you guys find your artists or your vocalists to work with, or how do you select someone that you put on your track?
I've at one point used MySpace, which it doesn't exist any. Wait, does it exist?
I've never.
Maybe. And then once on Twitter, which is kind of weird, and then through recommendations of friends. I mean, and like local scene as well.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see a video of somebody who's really good or a song that I hear, I tell my manager, we keep like a massive list of artists that we love, of voices that we love. They usually have something special about them. I'm not too particular about somebody who has perfect pitch and, you know, sings without any mistakes. I would rather have somebody sing not perfect, but at least have a little bit of emotion. And then when I have a song, I immediately kind of gravitate towards either a breathy vocal or male-female range, and then it kind of narrows it down. But where do I find them? Honestly, like iTunes, Spotify. Every time I like something, I have like a Spotify playlist where I just put songs in that I like, and when I need vocalists, I just look and ask those people if they want to work with me. On Twitter, DM a lot of the times, works very well. And I remember when we recorded Foxes, I really felt something, and it felt very special to me, and luckily a lot of other people thought it was special too.
All three of you have said how you like to do something that's quicker for your workflow, whatever comes out the best quickly. So my question is to you, why do you choose Cubase to write all your music?
Well, I write the music even prior to Cubase, really. Mostly it's just on a piano. A lot of my ideas only exist on a phone or, as a video recording. I will say that I'm pretty jealous of Ableton, because every time I work with somebody on Ableton, things are so much faster than on Cubase. I'm just so used to it that at this point it's hard for me to switch. One of my favorite artists right now, and I'm not going to say who it is because it might be a little embarrassing, his chord progressions are incredible, and he always writes something I would never come up with. And he recently told me he writes them with an app on his phone, where you basically, you say what key you want to be in, what kind of mood, or I don't know how exactly how it works, and then you just click on buttons and it plays chords, and you go in a direction as a pianist you would probably never go because it's just kind of weird, but it sounds cool. And then you click a button, it sends you the MIDI to your email. You plug that into your DAW, and then you get a song. So I would have never thought, I mean, he's incredible at anything he does, but if that's how you get to write your music, I think that's also a really creative way. That's probably closer, you said you write everything in machine. Maybe there's a lot of things I would never come up with because I started them on a piano, whether, you use a guitar or whatever you write on. If you have an app or software, synth, whatever, maybe sometimes you will come up with different ideas, and that's cool and fresh.
My question is for all three of you. What resources do you use to learn new things, new techniques regarding mixing, sound design, different technologies that you use?
YouTube. Definitely YouTube. Heavy YouTube, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I double that. Yeah, totally.
YouTube, okay.
Co-sign.
How about you?
Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing in terms of mixing, and I think that helped me. And sometimes I think the more I know, the worse it is. The first time I knew that I was doing a lot of things wrong was when Steve Duda, who knows everything just in life, he looked through my chain, and I love clipping, so instead of limiting, I would rather just clip, and it's in red, and if I don't hear it, it's totally fine for me.
Interesting, all right.
Every single song is just clipping. If it sounds good and it's all red and it looks wrong, he's like, yeah, you should never do this, you should never do that, or you clip into this and then you do this and then that. Well, but it sounded good, so I think sometimes just being naive and going with whatever feels right is better than doing everything the way it should be.
Sure. And sometimes you use YouTube as well, is that right?
I have used YouTube for sure.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Cereal or toast? And have you ever recorded yourself eating breakfast or thought about it?
Wow, such a deep question. Wow.
I'm serious. Like, it's an idea, right?
Cereal. And no, I have not recorded myself.
Depends on if there's lactose-free milk or not.
Cereal might be an American thing, though, right?
Cereal is what?
It's like an American thing? Because if
Yeah.
you're in Europe,
Germany, you say
like
cornflakes. Everything is cornflakes.
toast with sugar on them.
But I might take the toast over the cereal.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. Just, do you butter your toast?
I don't do butter.
Okay.
I can't do butter, not at all.
You know.
Do you do cornflakes or toast?
You know what? I actually choose bagels. So
Wow.
irrelevant.
That wasn't an
happening
option.
here?
This
That was
an
unexpected.
That was an unfair question.
Yeah, enjoy your next breakfast, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This question is for all three of you. I just wanted to ask, what are your guys' view on using samples? Because I've heard a lot of arguments saying that it's cheating or it's not cheating, so...
No, I mean, hip hop is like about sampling. It's been like that from day one, and I feel like, going to like the machine jam or the contact, how you can use the chord mode, like it's like sampling. It's just like having ideas like at your leisure, just to chop up and make what you want them to be.
I think it also depends on the context of samples, right? Because like there's all these sample libraries now where it's like if I just take one loop from the drum section, one loop from the like melody section and the bass section, it just makes a track for me. So it's the way that you creatively use it, right? But I think there's no wrong answer. Some people can use sample libraries and make something really amazing. You know, it depends on how you flip it. But yeah, it is a point of contention for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a complicated question. It really kind of depends, because I know a friend of mine once got sued because the song basically was the same or very, very similar as another song that used the same sample. And the music part was the sample, and everybody who buys the sample can technically use it, but then somebody's like, well, I used this first. I did this and a drum beat underneath it, so it's my song. So it's really kind of a touchy thing. I think as long as the song is dope, I don't give a fuck personally. I think people can use samples if it makes the song better.
All right, thank you.
So, okay, so we know all the new tool sets that we have right now. What if Native Instruments jumped the curb a little bit and went with augmented reality instead of a physical console?
I think.
How would that change your world?
What do you mean by physical console? Like,
So instead of a physical console, do it with augmented reality.
physical console is just a desk for me personally.
Fair
So
enough.
I guess I wouldn't know where to put my
Yeah.
stuff.
But what if there were never any faders that you ever had to touch?
If I can make it sound good, I'm with it. I'm down.
Yeah,
I think that's coming, though. I think it's coming.
it's coming. It is coming. So that's it. Just some food for thought. Jump a
Yeah,
curb.
no, it's good.
Thank you.
Do you work with upcoming artists and producers on the rise, or do you got to be signed or have a label?
I mean, if it's dope to me and I feel it, I'm down with collaborating with whoever. Like, I don't have to know you. If I just met you and you sound dope, I'm with it. Like,
I just want to know how you guys, all three of you, deal with writer's block.
Whiskey Coke. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a tool against it. I wish maybe that's something Native Instruments can do. But you just, I think you can't be creative. One thing I hate about sessions is that, sometimes the manager will book you into a session and then you're like, okay, tomorrow at 2 p.m. you're going to be really creative. And that just doesn't work. If you're not creative, what helped me was just to go outside, do something that has absolutely nothing to do with music. Being away for a week can make you 2 weeks faster sometimes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think for me, the worst thing is trying to force it. So yeah, if I ever have a point at which I'm not happy with what I'm doing, I'll walk away from it, maybe for a couple days. I'll just like go do another hobby, watch more cartoons, do something unrelated, and then like go back fresh. Because I think it also becomes really frustrating when you try to work on something, you're like, it's not gonna work. It's just better to leave it. But yeah, that's definitely, I completely agree with Zedd.
I'm really curious for you because I'm a hip hop producer myself.
well, I mean, pretty much what they said. Just like I used to, overly like work myself and try to like until I want to pull my hair out, try to figure this idea out. But now I'll just go back to living regular life and doing something that has nothing to do with music, and I just come back to it.
How's it going, guys? First of all, I'm a huge fan of all you three artists. But my main question was, as far as from being a bedroom producer and having that breakthrough moment to making it into that other stage in life, like, I'm just want to know, like, the stage in your life where you went from that point to like breaking through to becoming a success.
I feel like quality still finds its way. I've put a bunch of songs up on SoundCloud and they got, a few thousand plays, which was totally fine because I didn't really do it to get famous. But then I made one song that was the one that got Skrillex's attention, and I personally thought that one was way, way better and ahead of time and something people haven't heard before. And without anyone posting it, it naturally got way, way more plays than any other song.
What song was that?
It was This Time. It's a remix I've made for a song called This Time, long time ago. But I think when you make something new, it will, naturally get more attention. People want to be the cool person to share something new that nobody has ever heard. And, they tell their friends, hey, this is a cool song. It's my song, I just discovered this. And it will naturally just become bigger. So in my case, I just made music, and one of the songs was more successful, and then Skrillex asked me for a remix, put it up on his MySpace, good old times. And that got a lot of traction, and then everything can go really fast.
I really got a good start off of MySpace back in '06. I would always put up new tracks like every other day, just instrumentals, remixes I was doing, and caught the attention of some people and was able to make some moves. And, you know, I guess it's still the same concept, like just make quality stuff and it'll catch the proper ears, you know?
Same. Yeah, you know, I think for me, I started up a little differently because I'm like LA underground beat scene, this sort of like world that started off in this very artistic way down here. And if you love what you do and you make a song that resonates with people, you don't have to try too hard. I mean, there's a point at which you need like whatever business or hustle acumen, but then essentially if you're like a really good musician and you have the heart and people can see that and people hear the quality in what you do, you know, you'll find a way.
Awesome.
All right, great
Thank
last
you very
question.
much, guys.
Thank you.
Much love.
All right, so let's have a hand for Zedd. Let's have a hand for my man here, boy. Let's have a hand for my girl, Jen, Tokimonsta. Thank you guys. Native put it down for y'all tonight. Show your love to Native. Big up for Native.